Right, well, welcome everyone to Reimagining Mourning. This is an exhibition by artists Paolo El Mario, Laura Barron, Claudia Chagoya, and Rafael Lozano Gemer. And I'm very excited to welcome you to the gallery because it's an exhibition that I've been thinking about for a very long time, and that I've been sort of trying to incorporate into the exhibition programming, but due to the pandemic, it was impossible. So it's taken longer than expected. So I'm very excited to welcome all of you to the gallery today and give you a brief tour of the exhibition. Due to the pandemic, I was not able to implement this exhibition, but I've been thinking about these themes of mourning for a very long time. And specifically, I was thinking about the missing and disappeared in Chile, since I myself come from that background and have dealt with that history in my own family history. I've had family members and friends who were tortured, who were disappeared. And luckily, we were very fortunate to have them return to us, but that was not the fate for everyone. And so I've been thinking a lot about this sort of inability to have closure and mourn when one is deprived of that opportunity. And then the pandemic hit, and the same sort of feelings of uncertainty resurfaced. You know, there were a lot of people who were unable to be with their loved ones and be close to them in their final days. And a lot of people passed away without being able to go through this mourning process of attending funerals and going through ceremonies, and all of that was deprived of a lot of people, for a lot of people. And then, of course, this year, the reappearance of the missing of this land, of Canada, came up, and we were encountered with 215 unmarked graves of children, and we were all shocked, and I was completely devastated, as so many people, and it brought it back again, the same sort of feelings of uncertainty of how do you put closure to something so devastating. And this sort of level of national atrocity of the settler colonial who has imposed this genocide on the indigenous peoples of this land really resonated. And so I would like to dedicate this exhibition to the children, to the families who continue with this sort of legacy of genocide. And so now I would like to step into the gallery and give you a brief tour of the exhibition Reimagining Mourning. So here we have Rafael Lozano Gemer. If you can follow me. His work is a video installation, and Rafael Lozano Gemer is a Montreal-based artist from Mexico, and he is sharing with us Level of Confidence from 2015. And in this particular piece, it's a commemoration to the 43 students of Ayotzinapa school in Iguala, Guerrero in Mexico. They disappeared and have been had disappeared for a very long time, and now they've actually just recently, I think it was a week ago, a news report came out, and they found out what the case was solved. So in order to activate the piece, the audience is asked to stand right in front of the camera that faces you when you approach the piece, level of confidence. And what it's doing is it's looking for through the algorithms, it's looking for a match to one of the students that was disappeared to the audience member who's in front of the camera. And it looks for a level of confidence match to the student. So ironically, this is the same surveillance algorithms used by the police force, the military, as surveillance. And so what the artist is playing here with is not only the culpability of the military, the police force, and the drug cartels involved in the disappearance of the students, but also the complicity of the spectator, of the person who stands in front and detects the injustice and who is a witness to this and complicit to the injustice and sort of places responsibility on the audience member. This piece also talks about the persistency of the people who searched for the whereabouts of their loved ones, and this sort of relentless search that happens within the piece of looking for the match reminds us a little bit about other instances of disappearance. For example, the missing and disappeared in Chile, as I mentioned before, in Argentina, but also the Indigenous women here in Canada, sort of relentlessly searching for the whereabouts of loved ones. So right beside Rafael Lozano Gemer's piece, we have Paolo El Mario, who's a Chicoutimi-based artist in Quebec. He's Colombian, and we have the piece Reformé from 2021. And this installation is actually part of a series, very similar installations, and they all have particularities. This one specifically, Reformé, he's done for this exhibition at Sur Gallery. And it consists of 3 panels that have portraits on them, as well as a video documentation of archival footage, as well as 3 images of the portraits and some information regarding the people in these portraits. These panels are self-destructive, automated panels, and each portrait consists of little pixels, little images of the destroyed home that was bombarded by the FARC guerrilla movement in Colombia, of the family's home, of the artist's family's home. His father, as a congressman, was a target to the FARC guerrilla movement, and they has taken responsibility for the bombardment. And we see the level of destruction in the archival footage that we see in the video that he has provided as well. And what happens during the course of the exhibition is quite dramatic because the panels themselves, the portraits, are destroyed during the course of 2 months. All the little pixels are flicked over by this machine that is part of the panel in the back. And it flicks each image onto the floor, and it will all end spread out on the floor during the course of the 2 months. So it's an ephemeral piece. It is a representation of the destruction of the artist's home, because each of the pixels shows an image of that archival material of the artist's home, and how devastating it was for, and how violent this act, how it was for the family and to witness. But we see the representation of this violence enacted at the gallery, but in a very controlled and precise manner. The artist, through these machines that he himself has constructed, designed, and 3D produced through a printer, he sort of enacts this sort of violence and destruction, but in his own terms. So under false accusations, the father was accused of terrorism, and he spent 9 years in a small jail cell. And some of the iterations of this installation have been the exact size of the cell where his father stayed for 9 years, where the artist visited him during the course. And of course, when all of these little pixels fall at the end of the exhibition, we encounter 3 panels that have just the structure of the panels that feel like a cell. So what's interesting about the choice of portraits that he's given us here in this particular installation, because in others he's shown various Supreme Court magistrates that were involved in the accusation towards his father, who was a congressman, is that he's chosen 3 judges, one of them who is now in prison for corruption, another one who is seeking refugee status to come to Canada, and the third one is actually in Canada now, living in Canada. And so and that sort of speaks to also his position as an artist and within Canada as a refugee himself. And when I asked him that question, he was very animate to invite this person who now lives in Canada to the exhibition to witness his installation. So right in front of Paolo El Mario's piece, we have Claudia Barron, who is also a Mexican artist based in Toronto. And she's exhibiting her photographic series Palimpsest from 2012, of which 4 of them are here at the gallery in Reimagining Mourning. It's part of a series. And so these photographs are actually that. They're palimpsest. She's sort of altered the original image of her landscape photography, which she is well known for, and she's altered it. She's changed it and given new meaning. And so in this case, we see an off-white, powderly, scattered around the images, and then we find out that this powder is actually the artist's father's ashes. And as I mentioned, Claudia Barron is well known for her landscape photography, and very rarely had she, previous to this work, incorporated the figure, the human figure in her photographs. And this would be sort of her first iteration of that attempt. And what is interesting and fascinating about this series is the fact that she feels this sort of need to commemorate her father and incorporate him into her own work, giving him another life, another form of life. And the process, it is almost like a ceremonial act that, that she shares with us. And it emphasizes the meditation that goes through it, the act of mourning, the contemplation required to give these photographs form, and how she sort of defies death of her father by incorporating him in the photographs. For her, the series became a site of not only commemoration, like the other pieces I've discussed, but also a place to deal with the loss, because she was not beside her father when he passed away, because she was living in Canada. So this also brings to light questions and themes of displacement that happens to so many diasporic artists living away from their loved ones. And it's a theme that she continues to explore. And finally, we have the artist Claudia Chagoya, who is a Calgary-based artist from Mexico. And she's exhibiting 2 installations here in the exhibition, Novem from 2019 and Unweaving Foundations from 2018. And right behind me we have Unweaving Foundations, and both of these installations allude to feminicide and gender violence specifically. And in this installation, of course you won't smell it, but there is a scent, an aroma that is expelled from the installation, and it's the smell of opal, which is a cleansing herb that is used in Mexico during ceremonies, and it's used during ceremonial services in Mexico. And in both installations, she's using the rebozo, which is a particular shawl, and there's a lot of meaning behind the rebozo, because the rebozo is a shawl that not only provides warmth, it provides comfort, it carries our babies, it heals when you can wrap it around an arm if it's broken, and also people are buried with these shawls and are accompanied by these rebozos in the afterlife. And so these shawls, these rebozos, are deconstructed by the artist. And in this one, in Unweaving Foundations, Claudia deconstructs by unweaving it, and she leaves only the particular states of Mexico where feminicide has occurred. And those are the states that are highlighted, those regions. The artist also refers to the rebozo luto de aroma from Tenancingo, Mexico, and this particular rebozo is black in color, and it keeps its scent in a 9-step process. It consists of various spices and leaves, and that's the sort of scent that is projected within the fibers, and it's kept within a lifetime. And so this luto de aroma revoso is the one that accompanies people and their owners during the afterlife, and they're buried with them. So finally, we step into the smaller area of the gallery, into the space where we see Claudia Chagoya's final installation called Novem, which is from 2019. And here she has again deconstructed the revoso, the shawl, but in a very different way. She has exposed the corporeality of the subjects as well as its decomposition. The revosos, as you can see, are crystallized with salt, and they almost look like bones that are creeping out of the shawl, out of the fibers. And the fibers themselves, the black fibers, look like the hair of women, in this case, that have suffered feminicide. The installation clearly shows us that and denounces the implicit violence over women's bodies. And Claudia has explained to me that she uses salt as an object of contradictions. So the salt can be used to decompose, it can be used to preserve, salt can be used to cleanse, but also to freeze. And so she has slowly, through a very long and tedious process, dipped these shawls into salt, and has throughout the course damaged her own hands with the effects of the salt and how harsh it can be on skin, not only on the shawl themselves. Salt is also considered a purifying element used in Mexican altars during the Day of the Dead celebrations. It is believed to prevent the souls of the deceased from corruption when they visit the land of the living. And also in this particular piece, she has given the title Novem, which means 9 in Latin. And this is significant because there is a connection to Mexico's strong Catholic religion and also Aztec cosmology in the number 9. Within the cosmovision of the Aztecs, there are 9 levels in the land of the dead, and depending on how the souls perish is where they end their journeys. And on the other hand, in the Catholic religion, you pray for 9 consecutive days in a very repetitive manner, and you're able to hear that prayer in the voice of the artist in the sound piece that is also integral to the installation. So all of the artists in Reimagining Mourning construct counter-narratives, and these offer places of reflection, a place to grieve, a site to mourn, and a space for its representation, and that's what is so significant and memorable once you visit the exhibition. So I urge you all to come in person. Thank you.